All right, hey Damian, welcome to the show. Welcome back. How you doing, brother?
Great to be here, man. I'm doing well.
All right, since I last talked to you now, it's been about a year, I think, somewhere around
Yep.
there, and you released an album. So let's review that. Let's tell everybody where they can get a hold of you and where they can find the album.
Yeah, the album's on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. You can find it there, Flying Colors. And I have all of my links to my streaming platforms and social media profiles on my link tree, which is linked everywhere on Instagram, Facebook. So you just click that one link, and then it'll basically show up all of my links to all my platforms. So it's a really convenient way to find everything, and I'm very thankful that that service exists. So
Now,
yeah.
Damian, since you've released the album, you've had some experiences playing out,
hmm
and some people probably want to know, like, first off, what was your inspiration for the album? What type of music did you listen to? What type of artist or something like that?
So I'm heavily inspired by, I mean, a mix of different kinds of stuff. I mean, I have heavily inspired by a lot of the Midwest 90s rock scene, especially early 90s post-hardcore bands, Shiner, Train Dodge from Oklahoma. A lot of bands, like that, they kind of had they're actually called emo early on, but I say emo in quotations because they don't have a lot of similarities with what's I think is kind of commonly associated with emo music now. They're a lot heavier and a lot more dissonant a lot of the time. So a lot of that stuff I'm a huge fan of, and this band called Failure from Los Angeles has been a massive inspiration on me. So like pretty diverse, but mostly alternative rock, early '90s stuff.
Great. I remember when all that stuff was coming around. It was great. It's cool to see the resurgence then. So, on the album, was there a song on the record that came together like really quickly, or was there one that took a long time to finish? So maybe there's one of each.
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I will say, and it even says this on Apple Music. For my Apple Music page, the song Brutus, the track Brutus, which is I think it's the second to last track. That came together
Yes.
very quick. That was a very I just recall that being a very smooth writing period for that song. I'm not really sure why, but the whole main riff just came to me really fast, and it expanded from there very quickly as I was working on it. Programming drums for it and stuff. So that one was kind of happened very fast. I think that out of all of the tracks that took the longest to write, it may have been um, the last track. I know what they'll say that where I spent the most time on it. It's the longest track on the album, and it's that one I kind of really poured everything into. I wanted it to have a very climactic and you know just a real finality to it because it was the last track on the album. I wanted it to really end things off with a bang, so I put a lot of work into that one.
Now, what's something you learned about yourself as a musician while making this album?
Um, Definitely that at some point you just got to be ready to put something out, because I'm definitely a perfectionist in many ways, and I hold myself to a very high standard when it comes to music to the music that I work on. And I think that I just had a lot of expectations that I was trying to measure myself up to when I started working on the record, but ultimately I think it's very important for myself and I think for everyone really who's writing to just know when it's time to just send it out. Because, you could theoretically work on something forever and tweak and tweak and tweak, and people might never get to hear it. It might never see the light of day. And I didn't want that to happen with this stuff because I felt very strongly about it. So, that's definitely something I learned about myself that, however I might feel about it, when it's done, at some point, it's probably good to just let it go.
So, did you set deadlines for yourself? Because that's something that some people have to do. Like, you eventually get a couple weeks into it and you're like, all right, that's it. Tomorrow's it. I'm wrapping it up. And that
Yeah.
forces you to do something. Some people go with that feeling, and then even like guys like Dan on that pedal show, he's been recording his album for like 3 years now or something. He's trying, he keeps
Yeah.
admitting, he's like, I just can't feel like I'm done, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to have somebody there, or maybe just be accountable to yourself to just get it done. Here it
hmm
is. Let's go. Right. All right, so if listeners could take away one message or feeling from the album, what would you want it to be?
Um, I think that I think that in terms of the overall tone of the album deals, I would say lyrically, the album deals pretty strongly with um, the feeling of being sort of on the fringes of society, being sort of it sounds so cliche. Even as I'm hearing myself say it, it's like everybody says it, but it is. I mean, it has a lot to do with kind of, being a little bit on the outside looking in, but also not being completely lost, like sort of you have one foot in the door, so to speak, and another one still outside of it, and you're just sort of trying to find your way and to establish your own independence in the world around you. The track Contrarian in particularly is very much about that. Even the title, it's a rather obvious take on that, dealing with feelings of rejection, but also the feeling that, you have something that you want to express and you don't care what people think about it. So that's, I would say, if there's one tone for the whole album, it would kind of be, could would kind of be that.
So if you're writing any new songs right now, maybe you've got some ideas and some stuff you've started doing for the next album. Do you think
Yeah.
it would maybe take a different turn? You think it would have a different vibe to it,
Yes.
including different soundscapes or something of that nature? What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely experimenting with some stuff on the next album that I didn't do before. And that's on purpose because I want there to be an evolution always. And I'm exploring some different vibes as well, some different tones in terms of what I'm trying to express because life changes. The place that you are emotionally and mentally when you're writing one album is not going to be, at least I would hope not, because you want to progress. It's not going to be the same place that you're at when you write the next album. So I'm definitely in a different place. I have been in a different place compared to before, and that's reflected in the material I've been working on for
Do you think
sure.
you're going to try different types of gear even, or you think you're going to basically use the same type of guitars and effects?
I've been
Because we were
using
just
different
talking about
guitars.
pedals, so
I've been
yeah.
using different guitars. Pedals, like the general rig is the same. The approach to the amplifiers and like what kind of, sounds I'm trying to get out of them is pretty much the same because I just have an understanding of the kind of guitar sound that I want and I stick with it. But I've been using some different guitars. I got a couple of new guitars in the meantime. I have a Fender Jazzmaster now, which is great because I wanted that really snappy Jazzmaster single coil sound, and also the ability to utilize the tremolo system because I really like the tremolo system on that guitar. So that's one that I've been using for the recording of the new album. I also got a Telecaster Deluxe in the meantime, which has those wide range pickups, which I had never played a guitar with wide ranges in it before. And that guitar sounds awesome. It's got this very unique quality to it for humbuckers. So yeah, I've been using some new gear, and getting some new tones out of that, like, or at least unique tones compared to the old album, then for
And so
sure.
it always seems to me like trying different guitars, can inspire you in different ways.
Yes,
So
yeah.
do you like writing like with your acoustic and then, write it and then finishing it with electric, or do you just kind of write most of your stuff using an electric guitar?
Recently, most of it's been written on electric, and a lot of the time I kind of have a write while you record process, because I always do demos before I do the final tracking. I believe very strongly in demos, being like a good way to get your ideas down before you approach the final track. Um, so I kind of have a write while you record principle where I sit down to do the demo and the drums are pretty much always the first thing to get done. They get programmed first, and then the guitars and the bass go from there, and the vocals and all of that expands after that. And it's pretty much all been on electric recently, although sometimes I sit down with an acoustic just because. I do a lot of layering with acoustic like when I'm recording too, especially for arpeggios and things like that. I like the way that acoustic sounds behind distorted electric guitar because it has
Yeah,
that
it does. It
chiminess.
has that percussive thing. So, do you plan on doing any collaborations for maybe the next album with any musicians on it? Because I know we'll get into it in a second here, but playing live is a little different than obviously your studio recordings. right?
Hmm.
So you think for recording anytime in the near future, maybe you'd have some musicians sit in, different guys, or what do you think?
Well, technically the entire upcoming album is a collaboration
Hmm.
because the it's not going to be a drum machine this time on the next album. It's going to be a live drummer. His name is Tim Beery. He's an absolute monster. He lives in Kansas City, so not too far from you. He's played, it's really funny actually. It's this whole thing is turning out to be pretty eclectic because he's played with Niels Lofgren and Mahogany Rush and bands like that. He's like an incredibly accomplished musician, drummer. He's an engineer too and works out of his basement studio. That's where he records everything. And he's like a drummer for hire. He does tracks for a lot of different people. Um, but he has worked with some big names, but not like really alternative as far as I know anyway. So it was very interesting for him and for me because he's kind of getting to approach a genre that he hasn't done as much, and I'm getting to see how he takes or interprets the rough ideas that I put down with the demos and then translates them to the final drums that he composes, and it's been awesome so far. It sounds killer. So I'm
I
really
love
excited
it.
for
That's
that.
kind of
Yeah.
cool. I dig it when that happens. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
There should be some creativity happening there. And so you think if you're like will you do it like remotely, or do you think you're gonna do it live, like somehow get together physically?
We've been doing everything remotely, yeah.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I'm on the East Coast and he's
Hmm.
in KC, so we kind of have to. But it's been working out awesome. I send him the demos, I send him all of the stems and everything that he needs, the tracks, and then he plugs them into his thing. He writes his parts over that, records them, sends them back to me, and we work that way. It's
That's
been awesome.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
really incredible, man. It's so cool to
Yeah.
see that, people doing that nowadays, instead of the traditional just sitting in a studio, and right next to each other.
It's
So,
technology, and in January too,
yeah.
I might add
Mhm.
the track Adamantine that came out. That's my most recent release. That was January. He played drums on that. That was the first time we worked together, and he did an awesome job on that too. So
Cool. I love who's doing the artwork for you because I'm like, when I'm on Spotify, I look, I see like, you have some cool artwork going on with the songs and the releases. And so who's heading that up for you?
it's all me.
Great.
The
Awesome.
photography, the photography, for Adamantine, my dad took that shot actually of the Knaggs chop tank, with the paint splatter and stuff. That was his photo. But I do all of the graphic design, all of the um design for that stuff. So
It's so
yeah, it's
cool.
pretty
I
much all
love
been
it.
me from the beginning. And
Yeah, I mean that's like a thing, in my age group, we always had albums and stuff. You did have records, I remember seeing on your Facebook page and stuff, right? Didn't you sell some records, actual physical?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I made for shortly after Flying Colors came out, I made a run of CDs. I even made some cassettes. Also for the first EP, Expect the Worst, I made like a bunch of CDs and we sold a bunch of shows. All of the cassettes we sold, and we sold a bunch of CDs and stuff. I still have a couple laying around. They'll probably be at more shows
That's
in the
cool,
near
man. That's
future.
great.
Yeah.
But the artwork is so important for the physical stuff too.
Yes, absolutely. And
Obviously,
I'm a very strong believer in physical. I love physical media and I love artwork. So
it's been
yeah,
making a comeback. I mean, there was a
definitely.
21 Pilot release, I think the other day here in our town. Of course, it's across the nation. It was at
Yeah,
like record stores and stuff, and my son was wanting to go to it and hear it. And I'm like, wait a minute, what am I back in the 70s and 80s again? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
cool. So let's talk about playing live. I know that playing live can be, sometimes difficult or can be, let's put it, how should we put it? It's just more creative in a sense because you have your studio and how you put everything together for your studio release. But then when you go out live, are you looking to try and recreate as much as possible the actual sound, or are you trying to go for a vibe when you go live to try and catch the vibe of a song?
Um, I mean, like we've kind of talked about before in the past. I think we touched on this a little bit before. My approach to playing live is, I guess you could say it's very old school, quotation marks. Because it's literally just, the band or the artist goes into the studio, they record a record with the gear that they're recording the record with, and then when they play live, they use that gear and that setup. Because that's my approach to recording is to try to make it sound as live as possible to capture the essence of the live performance rather than trying to recreate the studio sound live, which would kind of be the opposite. So for me, I'm using the same gear. I'm using pretty much the same setup. Everything's the same. The only difference is we're in a room with people there watching us play. That's always been my attitude about it, my approach to it. It's very straightforward and very kind of old school. I know that, a lot of other people when they do a lot of elaborate overdubbing and stuff in the studio. When they play live, they can't quite replicate it the same way. Of course not, because they've done all this other stuff that you would need like 10 guys in the band to do that. But since we're only a three piece when we play live, yeah, it's a very stripped down rock and roll approach.
That's great. And I know if you're using programmed drums and then you have a real drummer live,
Yeah.
how much do you hold that person accountable? Do you like give them some freedom and of course, and just be like, hey man, here's the vibe. It's in 80 BPM, whatever, this
Mhm.
kind of thing. Do your thing, or do you try to say, hey man, I need you to take about a month and learn these as best as possible?
Um, I'd say I lean more in the direction of the latter
Hmm.
just because of how I am. But at the same time, I allow like I'm okay with some freedom, obviously. I'm not a total hard ass about it. Jeff Koyuk, the guy who's been playing drums with me live, is awesome, and he sometimes brings in his own fills and stuff. I mean, to be honest, I'm not really. It's a little too early for me to even comment on that because we only played one gig together, these guys and I, these new guys and I, and we had one rehearsal before that, and it wasn't a very long rehearsal either. So we really don't. We haven't been in a room together much playing. We're definitely planning to more. So as time goes by, I think we'll see how that all works out. But the first gig went very well. I was very much happy with how everything turned out for everybody.
So what kind of memories do you have from the gig? Like the setup, how did it go? Like sound check, all of a sudden you go to play live, you're playing a little louder and it messes with the sound, maybe with adrenaline or something, or what happened with the gig? Give us a little feedback.
I mean,
Or any of the gigs for that matter.
yeah, it was an interesting experience. I think that we all wanted to just put on the best kind of performance that we could, and especially considering that we didn't have a ton of time to rehearse because um I was originally going to be playing this show with some other dudes and then they couldn't do it and so I had to find somebody and I got in touch with these guys and we very quickly struck up a connection and started talking and they're just really cool guys in general too personally. They're a ton of fun to be around, so it was really easy to get acquainted and get in a room and start playing. um, and once we did, pretty much from the first song, actually it was Adamantine in the rehearsal space. We ripped into Adamantine first, and basically from the first note that we went into it, I was like, "Yep, like you guys got it. This is it. We can do this," which is
I
a
love
great
it.
feeling. So that was exciting, to just know that I could rely on them and that we have that kind of connection. And the gig went well. We had fun. All of us had fun.
So no
It's
amp
great.
blowouts or wires not working or
No rig going down, none of that, thankfully. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
I've I've heard that it's going to happen at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. So
What's your backup rig? Do you have like some type of modeler or something to just throw out there and use instead to hook to the PA or something or nothing like that
not
yet?
entirely. I mean, I'm winging it a little bit. The thing is, I always play with two amps live that
There you
are
go.
blended. I always
Right.
blend with two, so if one were to theoretically go down, I wouldn't have no amp. It wouldn't be ideal, but I would still have an amplifier to play through. So I don't have like a full-blown replacement backup rig for those two amplifiers. I did get a new cabinet recently for the Mezzabarba, which is it's a Marshall 2x12. I didn't want to get a 4x12 because I didn't want to schlep around a 4x12 to every show. So for now I'm working, yeah, for now I'm working. I don't have roadies, so for now I'm working with the 2x12, but the 2x12 will definitely shock you with how much output and how much power it has. And this thing is 100 watts. The amp is 100 watts and the 2x12 cab is 100 watts. So
Nice.
actually 160 watts the cab is. So it's got all the muscle that I need right now. So it
I love
works.
it. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting to sometimes some people say in the studio use, four, five, six guitars, but then they go live and they decide to just take one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
did you bring even the same guitars that you used on the album, or did you bring different guitars to play live?
It was the same guitars as on Flying Colors. I mean, as on all the stuff that's been put out so far. The main reason why I have multiple guitars live is for tuning, anyway. I'm not really doing anything different tonally speaking. I try to get as close. I try to have the guitars sound as close to each other as they can if I'm having multiple guitars. The main reason I have it is for backups in case I break a string or something happens, or just to be able to switch them out for tuning. Because I'm usually working with like two or three different tunings at least in one set. So
I love different open tunings. I like C. I like playing open C and stuff.
open
So
C,
yeah,
kind
what
of
are
like
you what are you
Soundgarden.
using? Yeah, well, yeah, some of the side guys in town, Seth Lee Jones, he's been gaining
Hmm.
a lot of recognition lately. He was playing with Greg Koch on stage and stuff here,
Oh
and
yeah,
he played with Derek Trucks here on stage too. And he's a luthier, been on my show. He makes amazing guitars, man. Check it out. He
cool.
does all the
Yeah, yeah,
bending and all that stuff and the benders on it. But
yeah.
he
Open
would
C
show me
is
open C. So what do you like? What
Soundgarden is
kind?
just what I think of because
There you
that's
go.
where But open C
Hmm.
is open tunings are cool. But as far as what I've been using, pretty much from the very beginning, main tunings are standard, drop D, um, E flat, and drop C sharp.
Hmm. That's
So
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, that's basically the main. That's the E flat, and then the lowest string tuned down to C sharp. Those four basically. And there's only one song on the set that's in the drop C sharp tuning, but everything else pretty much is in drop D and standard. Drop D and standard are the main ones. The whole album, pretty much the whole album is in drop D or standard. The only track that's not is Estranged, and that's an E flat. So yeah, basically those. Not like super low, but
It's
kind
kind
of
of
low.
par for the course with the music that you're playing. I would have kind of guessed it,
Yeah.
heading into it. But so what type of strings are you using? Do you go a little beefier with them? You use them bigger than tens? You using like 11s or anything in order to use the drop tunings and stuff?
Yeah, it's a little beefier. Main strings that I use are 11 to 40, I think it's 11 to 49. D'Addario for everything. Those strings are awesome. And also with the Jazz Master, that's kind of something I learned about the Jazz Master. They kind of need thicker strings, I think, a little bit because of the tension and the way that the bridge is set up. So I kind of had to throw some 11s on there to really make it feel more balanced out. I thought that I could get away with like 10 to 46, but it didn't quite work, at
Too
least not on my
slinky?
guitar.
Too
Yeah, a
kind of
little too.
slinky and stuff? Yeah.
And I don't like I've grown really accustomed to the 11, so anything lighter than that feels too flimsy for me at this point.
Yeah, it's like, some people we like fighting on the guitars, us Strat guys. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
like so sometimes I got tens now, I'm getting older and stuff and relearning and everything. But
yeah.
I used to have 12s and 13s even on my Strats years ago and
It also
stuff.
depends if you're doing a lot of bends, then
Yeah.
it's helpful to have lighter strings, but I don't do it. I only have like one solo in a set or whatever, so.
And if you had the tremolo system, like for the Strat and
Yeah,
stuff,
I use
like
that a lot for.
it's great. Um, So what has been your biggest challenge though of playing out and connecting with audiences? Is it just hard to get the gigs lined up with
Mm,
everybody and get time for it? Or is there a problem maybe with not finding enough venues that will let you play your music with amps?
mm.
So what type of issues are you dealing with?
I mean, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked, honestly, because I've kind of been wanting to express this for a while. Because I mean, it's mixed. In my area where I live, there's DC and Baltimore, obviously, and they have great scenes for, you know, hard rock and for alternative and for punk and all of that. They have really important cities historically for that style of music, but it's kind of an environment where if you're not already fairly established, it's pretty hard to get into the higher quality venues. And I'm someone who's always wanted to, because of the rig that I'm running right now and stuff, I don't really want to play somewhere if they don't already have a back line and sound taken care of and stuff, just because I don't have a PA, I don't have, I can't schlep all that gear around. I don't right now anyway. So it's kind of been a challenge finding venues. It's been a challenge just getting gigs lined up too. It can be a very competitive scene, and I'm a competitive person, but it kind of depends on what competition you want to be involved in. And with playing live, yeah, it's definitely been tricky for me here. There's also kind of not really a scene for this kind of music where I personally live. So the closest that there is a scene for me to do that kind of thing is DC and Baltimore. So I'm driving anyway. Um, so it's mixed overall, I would say. I haven't lined up as many gigs locally as I would prefer or would like to in a perfect world. But on the other hand, I've really been utilizing that time as much as I can to work on the new album and promote myself online instead, you know. So it's not all bad.
You're just being wise about it. You're picking your battles,
Yeah, and
and
I'm
that's
I'm
good.
really trying to go for the high quality gigs, the gigs where, we can get a good turnout and we feel good about it and it makes sense for us to do it logistically. Because a lot of people, and I'm not saying that I don't respect this because I do, but a lot of people my age or who are starting out, they'll take any gig they can get. And I think that there's something to be said for that, but I don't know. That's not quite how I roll, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I totally understand. So the guys in town, like I referred to, like Seth Lee Jones and all them, they use super reverbs and they use 2 and 3 amps at a time, and they're in
Hmm.
small venues, and they can't be in every venue because they're not allowed.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't play that loud, or they just have to be, they have to have in-ear monitors and modelers and just PAs. And like myself, I like modelers, but I also love real amps. So to me,
Hmm.
it's just anything I can, make some noise on. It's
Yeah.
like,
No,
I like
100%. Yeah.
Dan Huff and all them guys, out of Nashville, they're my age, and that they're always like, there is no bad sound, there's just bad usages of the guitar sounds. That's all. It's just not maybe appropriate for that song or something. But there, you
Right.
can all different types of sounds. And I get it. And sometimes, like with the push nowadays, with the silent stages and stuff, and
Hmm.
or if you're at a place and they're like, well, we really want people to be able to talk while they're listening to your music. It's like, okay, like what?
It's not, doesn't exactly like,
Yeah.
that doesn't exactly compute with the kind of music that I play.
Oh no,
When
not
you're
with
at a
most
show,
people. I don't even care if
yeah,
you're playing James Taylor and you got a full
yeah,
band or something. You got 5 people in your
sort of,
band. You're still gonna be loud. You're still
yeah.
like, I don't understand.
Certainly not rock and roll, I don't think. That's not really like,
No.
yeah, but I don't
So
know.
would you ever consider, with that being said, I've seen some really cool versions of this, but the stripped unplugged versions, would you ever consider doing like just straight up unplugged and have a guy with like some type of percussion instead of a full drum kit and you just do an acoustic and just having some fun with that maybe? Would you be game for that if it was the right venue?
Yeah, potentially.
Hmm.
It really just depends, but I could definitely see us doing something like that in the near future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, man. I mean, come on, the unplugged thing was so cool for
Oh yeah, I mean
Nirvana, for Clapton.
I'm 100% of an unplugged fan. The whole, the 90s unplugged stuff, Alice in Chains and Nirvana too, obviously, and stuff. Those are classics.
I love it because like now as you've been playing out and stuff, have you been building some of your confidence then out there playing? Because I know you're a young chap and a young lad, as they say, and you've been going right at it and you look pretty good out there from the videos and stuff. So speak about the confidence. The more you're playing, or even the more you're learning to promote and build all this stuff online, are you
Yeah.
gaining a lot of confidence lately with all
Yeah,
that?
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling good. It's every day for me. It's a constant grind. I'm constantly working on it and it feels great. I mean, as far as playing live, I'm in the position where like I have the attitude where I could play anywhere at any time in front of any amount of people. I don't care. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's get in the van. I'm 100% like that. Am I always able to get the gigs lined up that I want to get lined up in the local area? Maybe not, but that's my attitude. So I have some stuff lined up to do in other places. I'm really trying to branch out and kind of get out of my local region. Philadelphia's got a great music scene for the kind of thing that I'm doing. Like it's a lot. If you're ever familiar with shoegaze as a genre of bands like that, yeah. Philadelphia's got a massive shoegaze scene and a lot of cool venues and stuff. And there's a group of guys called Pack of Larks from Philly. Jeff Campbell, he's their singer and bass player. He's a super accomplished, seasoned musician, and he has his other bands in the past have opened for bands like Shiner, the aforementioned from Kansas City and stuff. So they're awesome, killer band. They just released their first EP, and they're building following again. So we were planning to do something together in Philadelphia, probably in the new year, for a live performance or something like that. So I'm really just trying to branch out and you know travel a little bit.
So networking, once
Yes,
again,
and a lot of
seems to be
networking.
important. Like this has never changed. I mean, methods might change whether you're online, whether you're going to something like NAMM convention, whether you're
Yeah.
going to a singer-songwriter type thing or whatever, some type of thing. But networking is still important, word of mouth and meeting people. So, in your experience, what's been your best networking? Has it been maybe through the internet or through messaging and then meeting people, or has it just been out and about seeing a band and then meeting people? What's been some of your best networking opportunities?
Um, I mean, social media is so valuable in this respect, and that's, I think, and this is something I think we've touched on before too. That's one of the reasons I think social media is so important and why it's so important to have a platform on it these days when you're doing, when you're any kind of creator, as it were, because the ability to meet new people and network with them is super, super crucial. Those connections are what allow you to carve out a niche for yourself and to form, lasting relationships with other bands and other musicians. So, Instagram, Facebook has been super helpful. That's how I connected with Jeff, from Pack of Larks. He sent me a message a couple of months ago, and I wasn't expecting it because I don't think we had really talked before this. But he sent me a message in last October, basically about the album and saying, man, I listened to the album and I really dig it, and it's so cool that you're doing this, and we hit it off right away. He's an awesome dude, so you know, uh, and that couldn't have happened without Instagram, couldn't have happened without Facebook, so
That's great, right? It's
hugely,
a tool,
yeah,
isn't it? It's just a tool. It's like you
it's
can,
hugely important.
it's kind of like the invention of the car years ago. And I don't know if I mentioned that with our other episode. I always, being a grandparent now and stuff and talking to my kids growing up, it's like the car can take you to work.
Hmm.
The car can take me on a date to go meet my wife of 30 years. The car can take me to school, but the car can also be something where you go rob somebody or rob a bank or you, heaven forbid, you
Right.
do something
Right.
wrong, with it. And
Yeah.
so, the social media can be the same way. You can go on there and be a troll and just try to
Yeah.
ruin everybody's lives. I don't know why,
Yep.
but people love doing that. Or you can, it's a thing,
I didn't
and
understand it either.
I don't either. Or you can do what you're doing, and just use it to network and meet people and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's pretty amazing that you're able to handle that and you've been doing it mostly, it seems like on your own. And I've been watching
Yeah.
it grow. So kudos to doing all that, brother. I love it, man. You
Thanks.
just got to keep it up. And then obviously, we do need to mention for a second, I met you because of your dad.
Hmm.
So shout out to old Peter Wolf there, man. So how's he doing? Is he doing okay?
Yeah, he's doing fine. He's
Staying
doing all
busy
right.
with Knaggs?
Yeah, he's a spring chicken. He's working with Knaggs still. Knaggs has been doing all right,
Hmm.
it's kind of an interesting time for everybody right now. Um, I think we're all kind of going through some kind of transitional period, I guess you could say. The whole world is, but everyone's still working just as hard as they've ever been and still putting guitars out, so it seems to be going well. And I'm looking forward to start doing the website
Yes.
because that's going to be an interesting experience for me to be working on that for them. So yeah,
So I'll put that up here so people can take a look at it, and stuff that, the Nags guitars. And I came to understand all this through Brandon Autry, who's a friend of mine. He uses
yeah,
Nags and
right,
yeah. And Brandon's been on my show. Obviously, he's from here, Tulsa area. And then I met your dad and then you. So it's been a cool little networking experience, all because of the Nags guitar that Brandon was playing. That white one he's got is just
right.
amazing.
I think it's a chop tank, right?
I think so,
I
yeah.
think so.
And
Yeah,
yeah, it's really cool. And you
I
get some
follow
good
him too
sounds.
on.
Yeah, he's been out touring. They've been opening up for Brooks and Dunn everywhere last year and this
Right.
year and stuff. But the next thing in the industry that you guys are in, you had some connections there a little bit, and hopefully, that'll pan out even more, networking. Because I saw your dad was out there with Steve Stevens, of course, and the Billy Idol stuff and all that, and maybe you'll even get to, have you been able to meet any people at all through that last year or
Oh
two
yeah.
because of Nags? That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was really fun. Just a week and a half ago, Billy Idol played at Merriweather Post Pavilion, and we went and saw them, and we were backstage. We got to hang out with everybody, said hi to Billy Morrison and Steve, and it was great to see everyone. They're awesome guys.
Yeah,
My parents and I had a great night. So, yeah, that
fantastic.
was fun.
Hey
That was
man,
a
if
lot
I
of
was
fun.
working at some place like Nags or something or PRS or whatever, man, and I had a chance to get out there, I might as well too, man. I'd love it. Networking, meet the people, say hi. You never know what
Yeah,
comes about, right?
yeah.
Maybe you'll show up as a guest musician on somebody's album too. You never know, right? Is that something you're open to? Like my friend Vincent, he's been doing sessions out in Nashville, and I like to promote all you younger guys on that aspect. Would you be open if somebody sees this and listens to your music and says, "Hey, man, I'd like to get Damien to show up on my album." Would you be open for something like that?
Yeah, potentially. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a couple of people in the past who have mentioned to me that we should do like a collaboration of some kind. I never really thought about it too much before before I really started putting stuff out, but it's definitely crossed my mind a couple of times. I'd be open to it.
Yeah, some guys don't like the sessions thing at all, or they just want to do their
Yeah.
thing, and that's
Yeah.
fine. Nothing wrong with that. Not everybody's into it, but you are pretty creative, and you have a lot of talent, and you got a lot of go. So I'm thinking you
Thank you.
never know what happens with you someday. I might see you on some collabs and working with other people. So that's awesome. I love it. And now, is your dream gig, has it changed at all? Or who would be somebody like, speaking of this, who would you want to be able to go out on tour with if you just could go out with anybody right now?
Um, I mean, obviously the aforementioned bands, some of my biggest inspirations and stuff, Failure and Shiner, that's like, that's like
Hmm.
a big thing for me. Big dream. Actually, it's funny because Pack of Larks, they're opening for Shiner in Philadelphia. I'm planning to go to that gig. That's going to be
Cool.
amazing. So there's like a network there. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff out there right now, and also on some of the major labels too. There's some bands that are getting some bigger promotions, some bigger press that are younger and stuff. There's a band called Glitterer that I don't know if you've heard of them. The singer Ned Russin, bass player and singer Ned Russin, he was previously in the band Title Fight, which was a pretty big post-hardcore, like early 2000s emo post-hardcore band. And I got to see him at the Atlantis in DC, which is where 930 Club used to be. Um, so they're kind of making waves right now. So there's a lot of guys that I have in mind in terms of like if I could just go with them on the road, I would, yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Do you have any producer guys in mind? If you ever had somebody that'd be able to produce you, like Rick Rubin or somebody?
Rick
Yeah.
Rubin is awesome.
Yeah, right.
I really respect him. Also his views about life and about approaching your career and about approaching art and stuff. I have a lot of respect for Rubin. Um,
You just seem
I
like you'd be
really
somebody that would do well with them. Just my opinion.
Well, I mean,
Come on, Rick.
I know that he's got a very distinct and unique way of approaching his work, and but I know that I've heard that he's very diplomatic when it comes to creating an arrangement that everybody's happy with the bands and the artists that he works with. So yeah, but he's awesome. I really wish I could have gotten to work with Steve Albini. It's unfortunate he
Mm.
passed away not too long ago, and I always had it in mind that I would want to record with him one day, but unfortunately not. But yeah, I have a couple of people in mind. Rick is definitely one of those people though, because Rick Rubin is just an awesome meditation wizard record guru.
Come on, Rick.
Yeah,
Tag him on the
yeah,
post or something. I mean, come on. I love it.
yeah.
So, as we're getting towards the end here, let's talk about if you had advice for any other young musicians, because now I'm starting to play out at some coffee houses. I'm relearning guitar and getting out a little bit. And
Hmm.
one night I walked in. I've been out to some of the coffee houses in town. I'm like one of the only people out there certain times of the year.
Right.
They're like, go for it. And I bring my little pedal and I play backing tracks and, play over it and I loop live in front of people. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And so if you had any advice, for some younger cats trying to get into the field, what would be some couple points real quick? What would you give to them?
Um, know your own value. Know your own value, definitely. That's one that I've been learning about myself, and I think that it's really important for young musicians to understand that young people in general who are doing something like this. When you know what you want and you know what you want to do and you know that you have what it takes, don't let anybody, back you into a corner where you feel like you need to limit yourself, you need to limit the kind of gigs you play, or don't make anyone feel like you're forced to take one gig and not another gig or do anything about your career in a way that you don't really want to. Do things the way that you want to do them, and one way or another, things will figure themselves out when you do that. And even if you don't feel right now like you're achieving as much success with it as you might otherwise, um, at least you're gonna have the comfort of knowing that you approach things the way that you wanted to from day one and you enjoyed it and that you enjoyed the process and the journey. And I think that's what matters more than anything else because if you allow other people to dictate the trajectory of your career or the trajectory of your vision, then you're going to be, you know, doing what they want to do and not what you want to do.
I love it.
So
Be true to yourself, right?
be true to yourself and know your own value.
I got some fun questions lined up here for you. So,
Hmm.
what's one thing fans might be surprised to learn about you outside of music? Do you like play Rubik's? Are you a good Rubik's Cube guy or something? Do you like gaming? Do you paint pictures? Do you go for walks and feed ducks? Or, what's something you do outside of music that people don't know about that you want to share?
Um, I spend a lot of time in nature. I really like to go biking. I really like to take walks. I take like two, three, sometimes three walks a day. I like to spend as much time outside as I can when I'm not working, because it's just really helpful for maintaining a sense of inner peace and clarity and focus on your larger goal. And it's just good for you. It's self-care. It's really important. I think everybody should do that. So I'm a nature guy. Um, I like to read. I've been getting into reading books a lot more lately, which is something I never did before, but I've started to explore that now. Um, don't really play video games anymore. I used to, but it just doesn't really fit into my schedule to do stuff like that. So I'm not really a gamer anymore,
Do you like to cook
but
or
yeah.
anything yet? Have you ever gotten into cooking yet? Like grilling or
Um,
anything? Not yet.
I can prepare a couple of basic breakfast items, but I'm not like a huge cook. My grandfather's my mom's dad is a chef, and a very good one. My mom's a great cook, but I haven't quite gotten fully into that whole side of things yet. Maybe I will. I don't know.
I love it. Well, nature's great. So here's something. If you had to do like outdoor concert venues,
Hmm.
amphitheaters or something, Red Rocks even or something, would that excite you more than maybe like an indoor stadium somewhere or indoor theater if you had a chance
Yeah,
to play outdoors?
yeah, outdoor concerts are cool, especially a place like Red Rocks is a really cool, seems like a really cool venue. I've never been there, but I know that Billy Idol played there too, not too long ago. Um, and yeah, that's an awesome concept. Doing outdoor shows. I've never played. I think one time I did an acoustic gig, and it was at an outdoor party kind of event, but that was a while ago. So yeah, outdoor gigs are cool,
I think
but
that'd
it's
be
kind of
great.
the only thing I have about outdoor gigs is I feel like the sound can be hit or miss a little bit because it's so much harder to set that up right when, you're dealing with it being out in the open like that. But especially from an audience perspective, it's cool.
Would you like it
Yeah.
at nighttime or would you try to time it? Like I've been to some concerts at night, like Allman Brothers years ago and everything, where they tried to come out right before the sun was setting, kind of for their own feeling. So the sun's
Yeah.
going down and they're transitioning into like soul shine and all that as it turns into like nighttime in the venue. Would you like to do something like that, or would you just want to come out with the stars out and stuff?
I mean the whole sunset thing is cool. I think everybody likes atmospherics. And that kind of vibe. I don't know how keen I would be on playing in the middle of the day, like when the sun is like beating down on you. But that's like what festival life is, like when you play and a lot of bands do that. I'd obviously be open to doing that if I had the opportunity. Um,
You
so it's,
prefer nights, maybe more towards the nighttime then?
maybe, yeah. If I
Yeah,
if I could choose,
yeah.
if like I was just a headliner and I could decide when I wanted to do it, then yeah, I'd probably do it like at 7 or 8 p.m. or whatever.
All right, so I got some questions for you. You ready, buddy? These
Hmm.
weren't on the list, so these are little quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
What's the weirdest place you've ever practiced or played guitar?
The weirdest place I've ever practiced. That's an interesting question. I think
City parks?
I've never done anything like that. I've never really played. I mean, I like to play outside. It's like an interesting experience, like going on your back porch and playing guitar, or something like that. But most of the time when I've practiced, it's been in my bedroom or in rehearsal spaces with bands. I did just a couple of months ago. My family and I were hanging out at the beach with some good friends of ours. They have a condo there, and they live in this like high-rise condo like apartment building, and they're pretty high. They're on one of the highest floors, so there's kind of a balcony view overlooking the whole beach, and it's like the ocean's right there. So I used to take the guy's guitar. It's like this old beat up nylon string that he had that he rescued from a fire. And I would take that outside on the back balcony and just kind of look at the ocean and play there. That was a very,
I
very,
like it. I love it, man. That's a great one. Now, here's a question
yeah.
for you. And this is hit or miss with a lot of guitarists, especially when through the decades I've met a lot of people. It's like, do you name your guitars?
Um, None of my guitars are named. No,
No,
I
you
never
say
really had
you're
any
not
guitars
somebody
that
who
are
names them.
named. I
All
never
right.
really had any guitars that were named. I don't know. It just some people like to personalize them. I never really would thought about that. It just it's the guitar, you know.
Most of us are pretty bad at it. Like this strap behind me, like when I first got it, I bonded with it, and
Yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah.
my one big guitar. You know, it's a custom, and I called it Sherwood, but it's because
Sherwood.
it's Sherwood green. Yes.
Well, that's a good name though. Like that kind of stuff is cool. That kind of stuff is cool. I think there's kind of a fine line. I feel like it can get corny fast
Yes.
if you're not careful with it, you know, like if you have like a 1965, you know, Telecaster or something and you name it like Gerard or that's kind of strange, you know.
Or BB King had Lucille, right? His
Yeah,
guitar, Lucille, and
yeah.
so there are those things. So you're not into that yet. You're not there yet. So
Yeah, I never named any of them. It's just that's the black one, that's the Jazzmaster, that's the Tele Deluxe, that's
you
the
just call
whatever,
it
you
by
know.
what it is,
Yeah,
right?
just the model, you know.
It's like going out to my car. It's a Jeep. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So if you weren't a guitarist, if you were not a guitarist, what's a random instrument you would secretly want to master?
Um, I love the piano.
Mm,
I love the piano. I love the way it sounds. I'm a big fan of piano compositions, piano music. I love listening to it. It's got a really unique and powerful emotional impact. I think that I'd probably do everything I could to be a piano wizard if I wasn't
nice. Now
focused
here's
on
a couple of
guitar.
silly ones for you. You ready for this? As we're closing
Yeah.
out. If you had to describe your guitar tone as a food, what would it be?
As a food,
Yeah. And don't say
um,
fast food.
no, no. Um,
Would it be Italian? Would it be
well, I mean, it's
barbecue?
distorted a lot of the time, so it's rather raunchy. What's like a raunchy food? I don't know.
Like barbecue, Southern
Yeah, something, you know,
Memphis.
really like a really, really hearty
Cajun.
steak. Really hearty steak.
Hearty steak.
Yeah, because
Nice.
it's muscular, it's beefy, it's in your face and it's distorted. So
Yeah, man.
something with a ton of calories and a ton of protein and
All
it'll be fine.
right, here's the last silly one for you. If
Yeah.
aliens came down to Earth and asked you to play one song to represent Earth's music, what would you play?
To represent all of Earth's music.
Yes, you got one song. Go
Oh
right
my
now.
God. Um, what's like a song that encompasses all of that shit? Um,
Would you go with something like Led Zeppelin or something or
no, it would be something more, a little bit more existent. Let It Be by the Beatles.
Ah, very good. Very good,
That's
Damon.
I think that's a song you could have that song represent
Wow, you're
the
pulling
big
out deep
picture.
pockets there, man. You're reaching in deep, pulling out.
Yeah.
I love it. That's so great, man. I love it. All right, Damon. Well, appreciate you being on the show, brother, and
Thank you
thanks for
so much,
being
man.
on
It was
and
great.
entertaining, all of us, all this. So, and it seems like you've really learned a lot since your last album. So I want to encourage everybody to get out there, check out the album, and look. I look forward to the new stuff coming out, and I'll post everything for everybody. So, Damien, I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show, big guy.
Thank you.